welcome to another episode of the Sawdust Nation podcast. And wouldn't you know it, it's the 89th episode, 11 episodes away from that 100th episode. We got quite a bit going on with this particular episode because we got a lot of good questions, and I can't wait to answer a lot of them. But you got myself, Nat from Nap's Naughty Works LLC. You got Josh from North Country Woodworking and Nick from MPG Creations. Before we dive into what's going on in the shop, Nick, give us our sponsors.
Here they are. We want to say thank you for the continued support to PWN CNC. If you're looking for that aftermarket CNC upgrade, check them out at pwncnc.com. And for 5% off your entire order, use promo code SAWDUSTNATION981. And again, thanks to Totalboat. They have been with us the entirety of our Sawdust Nation podcast run. If you want a 10% off promo code for their webpage, which is totalboat.com, go ahead and DM us. We'll hook you up. And last but not least, patrons, thank you. You guys are freaking awesome, man. I love y'all from the bottoms of my hearts. Anyway, what's going on in your shop, guys?
Go ahead, Nap. Let's see what's going on in your shop, bro.
All right, man. So first things first, post the reel up, pull the Nick. I upgraded. I decided, you find those marketplace deals, old marketplace snipes. My buddy John Davis, he actually found it, so I didn't snipe it. He did, and it showed me. It's the 2550 Supermax drum sander. So I had a 1938 that I purchased 6 months ago. And I initially wanted the 2550, and some of the stuff that I wanted wasn't ready to ship. And I was like, I need a big drum sander now. So I just went with the 1938. Well, that bad boy came up on the marketplace, and I was able to sell my 1938 and then go ahead and turn around and buy that 2550, which was pretty awesome. So that is a new addition to the shop. The grand scheme of things, I really didn't spend any money on that thing. So I think that was pretty awesome. Lately in the old programs and things, I don't know if you all know, but if you use Lightburn had an update. Got a lot of cool stuff that I learned, and it might have not been new stuff. It was just stuff I ended up finding out as I watched the video of the updates. But if you do have that Lightburn, they have a couple new options below your cut layers. Like you can lock certain settings. So like if you're like me and you do a lot of rearranging on the software itself, sometimes I accidentally click and drag something by accident. Well, they have stuff in there now where you can like not only lock the shape, but you can also lock certain functions so you don't accidentally do it. Like for example, you accidentally resize a shape, or if you accidentally drag some stuff around and you leave a little speck somewhere in the Lightburn and it screws up the file and you can't find that little speck unless you select the whole thing and you have to delete it. So it's got those couple settings. I also learned that there's a library you can actually upload pre-made settings for your laser. And yes, like OMTech has theirs, Thunder has theirs. Like any laser company that has like an actual pre-cut listing is actually out there. You can download the file for free 99. Generally, if you search it in Google, and you can actually upload it to your Lightburn, which is pretty awesome. So I found that out this week. Now, as far as projects are concerned, I got a lot going on. You going to bed? Yeah. All right, night, buddy. Love you. Yep. And there's my boy's name. But so as far as projects are concerned, the sword plaque is almost done. However, I did screw up a little bit on it. Not necessarily on the construction of it, but a particular process. So I jumped the gun and chamfered some pieces before I end up lasering what I need to laser on them. So it's making it extremely difficult to line them up. So I have to recut one of my pieces so I can line it up appropriately and laser that. I got a couple of simple jobs. I cut the shield out of cherry, laser etched some stuff on it. Got to put an edge on it tonight and put some lacquer on it. What else I got? I have this pocket knife coin rack thing that I'm going to make. They said I had creative licensure on it, so I'm not going to make it hang on a wall anymore. I'm going to make it like a desk piece so it can house some coins and display the stuff that they had for it. Let's see what else. I did my taxes. And that's not really what's going on in the shop, but that was a pain. This is for like first year that I've actually like taken every deduction possible. Let's see. As far as the shop is concerned, though, I mean, I've got jobs going on right now as far as like the shadow box y'all have seen me post stuff on. That's not due to April, but I was like, I'm excited to make this thing, so I kind of started making it already. It's the facade's already sitting on my table right now. It's a cherry shadow box with walnut inlays.
I mean, that's probably I don't say the toughest part, but that's probably the most time consuming part is getting it designed and then cutting it and then cutting the glass for it or the plexi for it. So
yeah, and I think that's why I did it, because I was like, you know what, so I've made 2 shadow boxes, but I haven't made a Master Sergeant Chevron shadow box before. So I got to design it, which makes it easier later for when I do my senior Master Sergeant in Chief one down the road, which I do have 2 of those in the books to make, which is pretty cool. But I was able to really, it was kind of, I hate to say it was easier than, well, the previous 2, because I learned from my mistakes on the last 2. And this one went together pretty easy. And I can say that because it's actually together now. All I got to make is the box portion and the flag portion of the back, and then the backer, which that process has become simple now. I ended up lasering the plexi out for a perfect fit, so I didn't have to do any odd cutting for that. Trying to think if there's anything else really cool going on in my shop, because although there's a few jobs, they're all simple jobs, just cut and laser essentially. That's what people have been wanting as of late. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I got going on in the shop, guys. I mean, there's not much more I can talk on that, because I do want to answer these awesome questions later. So, Josh, what's going on in your shop, man?
Well, I'm glad you asked. There's a lot going on in the shop right now. Well, first off, I got all my toolboxes, new wheels, casters on there. Made the frames, put the new casters, and luckily most of the toolboxes haven't been filled to capacity, so it was pretty easy to get them on. But now I have casters on there that I could basically do 360 degrees of turn and easy to put away. They all lock. So if I decide to go ahead and put it in my driveway, which is a downgrade, it's not going to go flying to the car, which is a nice thing. Nav, how's that sip?
It was good.
Anyway, what else have we got going on in the shop? Well, I got done with a couple projects. I had a 2-foot hammer order due the 7th, which was, I guess, yesterday, because today's the 8th. And I got that knocked out and gave it to the customer. It was pretty last minute order. I got it at Workbench Con, so I got that knocked out. And then moving on, I did a plaque, and I used acrylic for the first time, colored acrylic, and cut that out, the Buffalo Bills logo, and put it on some ash, and I did some engraving on that and hit it over, and they really liked that. They wanted it painted, so I didn't tell them I was doing acrylic. So when I handed them that, and it was just that solid color, and it was just clean, and they really enjoyed that look. A big thank you to you guys, because you're kind of inspiration there when it comes to that. And I was kind of nervous about cutting it on the Glowforge because, well, it's a Glowforge, but it handled it pretty good. One cut, perfect. I used the 3M material that Nick told us about, and I tried to pull it off. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to make sure it was going to come off, and yeah, it's not going nowhere.
You're not going to pull it off unless you're going to damage the piece if you pull it off.
Pretty much. I even put oil on the piece afterwards and tried to pull it off and see if the oil seeped underneath it. Nothing. So I'm pretty happy with the results of that. I'll be doing more acrylic pieces similar to that in the coming future, hopefully. I just got done with a cutting board for the military working dog community here. I'll be delivering that maybe tomorrow, day after. It's oiling up right now. It's soaking all that Walrus Oil in. And then I was thinking about, what do you guys think about this? Maybe once it's all done with the Walrus Oil, put some ODs on top for the wax and oil. Is that too much? Is that too much oil?
What is it?
A cutting board.
I mean, you might be all right. I wouldn't.
Yeah, honestly, man.
I would do wax on top of the Walrus Oil, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, but I currently don't have any wax. That's one of the reasons I was leaning in that direction.
You can order some on Amazon. It would be to your house in a couple
Well,
days.
I'm glad you mentioned Amazon because, I'm not going to go on a rampage here, but I ordered something last week. It was supposed to be here last Saturday, and I just got it today. So I've had some shipping issues myself. I'm not going to go diving into, but I do not rely on Prime anymore because of that very reason. So, the only reason I bring that up is because I'm out of wax, and that was the closest thing I could get to wax at this point in time.
See if Heather has some Nair.
Yeah. You think that's going to work? With all those little wood hairs? Well, I popped a grain, so we're not going to have to worry about those little fuzzies anymore. But, it's looking good. I got a engraving in the bottom left-hand corner, and then I have one in the back as well, which is kind of non-standard, but they wanted a lot on this cutting board, and I wanted to make sure it was put in a place where it's still usable. So that's how we went about designing it. Currently, I'm doing a glue up for a 30 by 30 sign. It's going to take about 6 hours to carve, give or take. I'm kind of behind on that because, it leads me into my next little debacle here. I was supposed to do that this weekend, and it's due on the 10th. But my CNC bed was warped. How did I figure that out? Let me tell you. I was looking at a flag I carved a little while back before I went to Workbench Con, and I didn't like how it turned out. You ever look at a project and you're like, this ain't good enough. I need something. I need to do it over again.
Your stars were wonky, weren't they?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I noticed there's a size difference, and I'm like, oh, something's messed up here. So I went to go carve again, and it's happening again. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I just leveled this bed. Something must be up. So for giggles, I took it off the frame, and I took the front off, and it popped up. I'm like, well, that's probably because it's warped, right? So I took it out, and I did a little reel you can check out on my Instagram page and TikTok. And it was extremely warped, and it was time for a new one. So I went to Lowe's, and spent some money there, and I got some new MDF, and I learned some lessons doing this. I put down first layer of MDF, and then I talked to Nick on the phone. He's like, "Yeah, I have a secondary level as my spoil board, so I could just replace that versus the entire spoil board." And I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. So I did the same, and I went ahead and I put the fasteners on the back, the whole 9 yards. Fast forward to my test carve to make sure everything was good, right? So I test carve, and I'm getting fat stars, skinny stars, smaller stars, all over the place. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? I've already leveled the bed quite a few times, and it's still kind of messing up. Well, it was because when I was putting down the holders, holding down the piece, the screw was going down to the first board and pushing up, causing it to carve deeper or showl in different areas. So I pin nailed it down, and it carved beautifully. It was a beautiful carve, came off the CNC. I was very happy with the results. And in the near future, I'll just be pin nailing down the pieces and calling it a day. I don't have to deal with anything crazy, and it's fast and quick, and there's always corner material left over anyway, right? So we figured that out, and we moved on to other projects. Did like I said, the glue up for the 30 by 30 sign, be carving. Also doing a 18 by 18 coin holder, and then that flag coin holder is going to be completed as well. And I just got a Marine E8 shadow box I'll be doing. And they want it painted red and gold. And almost like the last Air Force one I did, just not a natural wood, just painted. So no biggie. It's a little bit different. I yet have had to paint a shadow box. But we'll do it.
Use your home right sprayer, bro.
I'm actually thinking about switching up to what's the other one AJ uses? The Wagner, because
it's from Lowe's or something like that. Or
yeah. Well, I've seen AJ use his, and I've seen Joey just did a reel about using his, and it looked like a nice even spray compared to some of the stuff I get with the home right. So
So
I'm kind of on the fence.
what are you spraying with the home right though? Have you sprayed paint with it before? Because you're using a specific nozzle.
Yes, the one I got came with all three different types of nozzles you can get for it, and I've done paint, I've done primer, I've done a vast amount of different uh, material out of that, and it's good. It works, but it's still not producing the quality I want it to. I feel like there are obviously better alternatives out there, and I'm just looking for a good one. I'm not looking to spend $900, but I'm looking to spend enough money to better my finish, if you know what I mean. So that I'm just on the search on that. The Wagner is like for the something 5. It's the newest one. It's like $219, which ain't too bad. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I wish I could test one out and see the difference. But unfortunately, I don't think the Lowe's would appreciate me taking that out, filling it up with some, paint and spraying a board in the middle of the store. So
So I know the Wagner Spray Tech, the new one, it's $80, and it's like the number 7. I'm looking at a poll here. It says it's in the top 10 of the spray guns. So
well, the one I'm looking at has it has its own little air compressor and the hose. It's not just a handheld. And I think that's the difference, because the ones I have now are handheld electric, and they spray okay, but it's not.
what's the
I
one
don't.
that what's his name got that Trails Custom Woodworks got?
Oh, he got a Fuji. A Fuji is anywhere between, I want to say, $200 to $900 or $1,100. There's different versions, obviously. You can step up. I don't think I'm ready to spend that much on a sprayer yet, especially when I don't have enough room or place to finish. So,
Okay, well here's one for $500, bro. Right in the middle.
yeah. You know what? You buy it for me, I'll use it. But, that kind of leads me to a conversation I had with Nap as well. I was thinking about doing a pop-up conduit spray shelter and wrapping it with plastic and doing that in front of the house to help with the wind and stuff like that. But then I went into Lowe's and looked at the price and realized that was probably out of it's like $25 per piece. So I was about to go down that rabbit hole.
Why don't you make one out of PVC and
See,
tarps?
that was exactly the second conversation. I don't really want to do tarp because I want to be able to let the light in. Tarp will get dark real quick. So it might be in the future. I just, it was an idea I was kicking around. So we'll see. It might be some developed. But the final thing I want to mention here today on the podcast is sometimes in woodworking or any job, you have to take your pride aside and realize that you have to step back and admit defeat. And I did that today. Still burns a little bit, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because hopefully you could learn about it. So I took a job quite a while back, and I've been working on it when I can because there was no due date. And I was working on it today, and I was I ripped a piece off it accidentally. And when I did that, I realized at that point in time, I was not equipped with the space or the time to finish the project. So I'm going to contact the client and let them know that unfortunately I'm not going to be able to finish their project, and that maybe at a later date, if they're interested, we can, get back together and reaccomplish.
Did they pay you already?
They paid me half of the price I asked for. I will be paying them back in full. And, hopefully that our relationship as a client and, woodworker will continue. But unfortunately, it's not something I'm proud of. Honestly, it's not. But it's something that it's been in the shop for a long time. And it just, unfortunately, I misplanned. I didn't plan right. And today was the breaking point for myself to realize that it's just not the right time and place for it. And sometimes you got to sit back and you got to realize, that's that point. So
you know what you could add in there. Once you pay them back, obviously, you just recommend somebody. That probably might be better because they probably still want the project. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have someone in mind that's local that I'll probably recommend because they have a much bigger shop and more outfitted than I am. That I've collabed before with. It's Main and Prairie, I believe the name is. I've done some work with them before. I'm going to look up their name real quick. Nappy, you have something to say?
Yeah, man. So I talked about this probably back in like the 70s, maybe 60s episodes, but I had the same breaking point when I was making my first shadow box. Like I was literally making mistake after mistake. Like I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was on a time crunch. Like, so it wasn't like a work on it as a go. Like it was like hey, I need this by next week type thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. It shouldn't be that big a deal. And man, I tell you what, I kept making all sorts of mistakes. And then the final breaking point for me was when I went to slide the piece of glass in that I had ordered specifically for it, and it freaking shattered as I was trying to pull it out. So I was just like, I had to call the customer and say, listen, I can't do this right now. And I had a lot going on in life too. So it was just one of those things where it was like, I can't focus my time on this right now. Like, I'm sorry. And the funny thing is they ended up purchasing the material from me and they actually had someone else work on it and finish it. And apparently it came out okay. So yeah, you're not alone.
It's not a bad thing to admit that you can't do something. In fact, I almost want to say that, a lot of people won't, and they'll just continue to try to take it on. And as is, like, my wife said it perfectly. Like, the fact that something fell off as I was doing it should tell me more than enough I need to pull away from this project and just be like, okay,
give
it to someone else.
I try to, obviously... Anyway, I try to, like, for that particular reason, I that's what I fear. I fear the not being able to complete it due to not having the time or having the space to do it, because that is in itself is like, you get a large job and you're like all excited, and next thing you know, I usually just turn customers down, or I recommend somebody else who can do it. You know what I mean? Like, no, I can't do that. I don't really say I can't do that. I just say, like, I don't have the space to do that. So I just push it off on somebody else, give them a couple options too. Especially if people are busy, because, everybody's busy.
Yeah. And I think it's important to be able to say no. I mean, like, I think all of us at one point in time, we have trouble doing that, but, yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not very proud of the fact that I had to, but it's something that I had to do. So it is what it is.
I've had that happen one time. I was actually done with the project. They kept kicking it back over and over again. Have you ever had anybody not like your project?
I haven't had any. Okay, so this is one of those like slippery slope questions. You're like, I haven't had anybody say they don't like my work. But at the same time, like, are they afraid to tell me they don't like my stuff, or do they actually like it? You never really know.
You can kind of tell when you drop it off, or if they pick it up and they're like, "Oh, yeah."
Well, I haven't got any of those yet, but
yeah, me either.
I had one person. This was on Fort Dix, down the street from you, Josh. It wasn't down your street; it was like a street over. And I mentioned this before, but it was like a couple of shadow boxes for like random little things from their wedding. And I made it. I thought it looked fantastic. I was like, this is actually really good. It's just a generic shadow box. It has like a knife and a serving spatula in it and stuff from the cake, and the two champagne flutes in the other shadow box. They don't like it. They wanted corrections made. And I was like, all right, no problem. I'll give me a couple days. So I fixed it to their liking, brought it back, and then they found something else wrong. I was like, you know what? I just keep the project. I'm gonna send you your money back, and then I parted ways. I'm like, I'm not gonna deal with this.
We're all learning. Like, at some point in time, you're gonna run against the wall, right? If you don't, good on you, because you know what? It happens to the majority of us, and it's happened to me. Honestly, I'm looking forward to just ending this project because it's been on my shoulders for a long time, and it's going to be like a breath of fresh air once it's all done and complete. And honestly, if they sit back and they said, look, we really want you to complete it for whatever reason, I'm going to go about it a whole different way. I'm going to have someone help me draw up plans for it, and I'm going to do a cut list in the whole 9 yards. I've been up to this point for the most part, doing everything mentally and then writing and sketching it, and it's worked. Well, guess what? It finally caught up to me, and this is the project that caught up to me. It was designed wrong. Obviously, if something fell off as I was trying to lift it, not designed right.
No, you're just too stronger than you look.
A Polish strong. Hey, but what it comes down to is I learned a lot from this project. I learned about my capabilities. I learned about things I should and shouldn't do. And the next time I tackle this, which will not be in this shop here, when I get a bigger shop, maybe, I am definitely going to be learning Fusion 360 so I can do my cut list, plan it out, test, do everything I need to do before I make a cut. Because I've already spent the money, in materials to get this, complete this, and do it. And then I'm going to spend that amount of money, but giving them that money back. So I honestly paid for this project in full, not just in time, but in money. So, take that. Hopefully someone out there can learn from that. Stay humble, because if you don't, your projects might just make you a little bit more humble. So, and I do want to correct, I'll be probably contacting Matt from Cape and Prairie. He's a local woodworker that I've been doing some work with here and there. And he does amazing stuff. And I know for a fact he can handle it and knock that out, no problem. So if you're listening to this, Matt, I got a project for you. But Nick, that's enough of my shop, dude. I want to hear about what's going on in yours.
Man. So last week you heard me tear apart UPS. They came back and they had a resolution for the project that was destroyed in their custody. And their resolution was that since the project had to be chopped up and shipped back to me so I could rebuild it with all the salvageable parts and such, that it no longer exists and there is no claim anymore. So they resolved the issue on their end. So that being said, that's a big fat egg I got to eat there. And I'm rebuilding the project, and it's coming out of my pocket to do everything I have to do to get this thing ready to go. Lumber is on order. I just have to go pick it up. But I mean, with walnut, I'm trying to save a little bit of money here, because walnut, for one, it's expensive still. Even down here, it's still expensive. It's one of the more expensive woods. I buy it. I try to buy it rough sawn, just because I can plane it and stuff myself. It just takes more time, so it doesn't hit me as hard in the pocketbook though. But that's what I plan on doing for that. As soon as I get that stuff, I will begin gluing panels up again and starting the process once more. I'm sure you will see some progression on this project on my my Instagram as soon as I recommence. Let's see here. I've got first time I ever got a request to make a plaque that looks like a guidon for the military. It's kind of cool. I thought it was a cool idea, so I went ahead and took that job from the 87th guys up at Fort Dix. I'm going to go ahead and get that squared away. I'm almost done with that. I've got a couple of Etsy orders that came in, like 3 Etsy orders that came in over the past week, so I'm working on those. This weekend, I'm doing all my CNC work. This week, I've been focusing on builds in the shop at night, so that and laser work. I've got a heraldry project. I'm 2/3 done with that. I've got a lot of projects that I'm like in process with, just because I bounce around when something's like glue's drying or whatever. I try to stay busy. I took 2 commissions for 2 different coin racks. It's going to be super. I hate to say this because, you always say it's going to be an easy build and then, something happens. But in the theoretically speaking, this should be a pretty easy build for both of them. One's walnut, one is oak. I've got a shadow box due in May, and then I have a memory box due in August. So I love when customers come to me and say, "Hey, man, can I buy a shadow box from you?" And it's like 3 months away. I'm like, yes, that's
yes,
perfect.
you can.
Yes, you can. For those people, I give them preferred pricing on that too because they give me so much time. I'll knock a little bit off just because, you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate them taking into consideration that I am not a full-time woodworker and that I have an actual, full-time job and kids, and that I can, so I can have time to plan this stuff out. So let's see here. Josh, you were saying you pin nailed some stuff to your CNC. Well, I did the same thing. I didn't actually use a pin nailer. I piloted holes with a drill bit, and I screwed everything down to the bed. And then when I was done, I just unscrewed it, and it worked fine. But that helps. That. Well, I was coming up with a problem, right? So all of my clamps were going to get into the tool path, and I needed something that was small enough, that wasn't going to be affected by the tool path. So I went ahead and just used the pilot holes in the screws, and it worked great.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I don't know why I just don't do that. I'm not going to use screws. Pin nail works just fine. And if you think about it, if your bit accidentally hits one of those pin nails, it's not going to be the end of the world either.
That's true. But I got to tell you, I got to report on that Milwaukee pin nailer, by the way. I think it's freaking nice, bro. Freaking nice. I was like, it's not as instant as of a shot as the air ones. Yeah. You hold the safety back and you squeeze the trigger on the air ones. This one is the same way, but when you squeeze the trigger, it takes half a second, and then it just shoots that nail in there. It's freaking awesome, and you can't even feel it with your fingertip. You know what I mean? It shoots it below the surface. So happy with that. Constant pressure. So I already had the M12 lineup. So I have the batteries. So this was a tool only purchase at the Orange store. I got it for $179, and I didn't pay tax. Well, I did, but I had the military discount, so it ended up not canceling the tax out. Yeah. But smartest decision I made. Thing is nice. I'm so glad I don't have to hunt around for the air hose. You know what I mean? My air hose is dedicated to just blowing. My air hose is now dedicated to just blowing off pieces and stuff like that, especially when I'm sanding. So, but that's really all I got going on in my shop. Nothing too big. I did. What was his name? Got a hold of me about shipping options. I have a few new prospects. I forget the state
of Franklin.
Hang on. I'm almost there. Where's that? Oh my goodness gracious!
Lost State of Franklin Woodworking.
Yeah, Lost State of Franklin Woodworking hit me up, and I got a couple people that reached out to me to explain a couple different methods of utilizing for larger items, utilizing freight companies as a space available piece, and it will save you a little bit of money, and it will get there, and it shouldn't be damaged. So, we're gonna see where that takes us. I'm excited to try that out, and I'm excited to definitely not have a piece that I spent so many hours on just get utterly destroyed. So, with that, we have some questions, right?
Yeah, man.
I believe we do.
We got let's see. So it looks like 6 questions. 5 questions. I can't count. But I'm going to kind of do these in sequential order because you guys, we kind of talked and danced around some of the answers to these. And it kind of goes from start to finish on some of these. And then one side's kind of business side of the house. So the first one I want to ask is from Jessie over at Building Jessie. And she asked, project organization, how do you keep track of your jobs? So, Nick, you talked about this a little bit, about bouncing in between them. How do you keep track of that? I'm here. Do you have something you write down? What?
Yeah, I have a planner. Where that planner is, I don't know at the moment, but I need to put a freaking bell on that thing or something because it keeps disappearing. But I have a planner. I got this idea from Knapp. He had his own planner that he writes the jobs down on. I typically write the job down on when I need to ship or have it finished. This way, when I look at my forecast for the month, I can see what's coming up, what I need to get materials for, and this way I don't blow any deadlines because I've been pretty close before at blowing a deadline, pulled rabbits out of my hat. But anyway, that planner is going to help me in the long run, especially. Oh yeah, I did forget to mention I did my taxes too, by the way.
It's a pain.
I wrote it down and I just skipped right over it, but yeah, I did my taxes too. But that's also going to help with money situation as well, because when I do cost estimates, I can write that underneath what project is due for the estimates on materials. This way, I can have kind of an idea of what I'm going to spend on materials coming up. Just as a quick reference, not like an in-depth reference where you're actually going to purchase, because then I go into the invoice and start looking at things. But it gives me an idea of what I'm going to end up shelling out for the month. So go ahead, guys. Sorry, Nap. Josh? What do you do? You've got a wife. She does. She reminds you. She's like, Josh, this is due this month. When are you going to do it?
She does help me, but since I've went LLC, I've kind of had to revamp my way of doing things, just because more organization equals better business, right? So again, I got the idea for a planner from Knapp. Thank you, Knapp. Now I carry my little diary everywhere, writing about everything I see.
Dear diary.
Dear diary.
This week I have this many jobs and I got to purchase this much hardwood.
Hardwood. Anyway, I got that going. Invoice everything I do, regardless of it being cash, Venmo, whatever. There's an invoice for it. That way I can track the job details, the due date, the person's contact, everything. And it's been nice because it's been pulling away from Messenger. I've been doing for the last, couple of years, Facebook Messenger, and it's been a pain in the butt, and I hated it. Well, the way I've been doing things, people have been contacting me directly, which is nice. Like, I get them on Facebook Messenger, and it's like I pull them away, and the invoice does everything. It tells them the details. It tells them everything they want to know. And if they agree with it, they pay it, and I get the money, and it's a done deal. For the first time, when I was at Workbench Con, actually, I had someone call me. We talked about it. I wrote the stuff down in an invoice, sent it to them, and I didn't even tell them on the phone how much it was going to cost because I didn't know. I told them in the invoice, and they paid me right away. There was no question about cost. There's no back and forth, nothing. And it was beautiful. It was simple, and I wish I would have been doing this from the very beginning. So with that, I've been trying to move everything to QuickBooks, but I'm keeping my invoicing with Square because it has one particular feature that I find very useful. I can send invoices to someone's cell phone. We all have smartphones. Everyone can check their email at any point in time, but for some reason, there are people out there that really like that idea of sending it right to their phone. They click it, they pay it, they're done. I have it linked up just right so I can send everything to QuickBooks afterwards, and it kind of does its own thing. I've talked to them at their help center to kind of clarify some things for it. That way I can better understand how it's linked, what's going to pull, what kind of information and stuff like that. But between the planner, the invoicing, and I also have a Excel sheet I made that basically if I'm sitting here at home and someone calls me while I'm hanging out with my kids, I have a sheet that basically has, the basic details, like what the job is, the person, contact, price, if they're going to pay me right away. That way I could go ahead and generate invoice later. I kind of can keep track of, when everything's due by just looking at a sheet real quick. But yeah, it's really helped me streamline my process. And at the moment, I'm not behind on anything, except for I'm coming up on a deadline on the 10th. I need to have that 30 by 30 signed. and everything else is either ahead of schedule or on schedule. So it's been working for me. I've actually talked to some makers recently, trying to give them advice about the stuff I'm doing to help better their tracking as well, because they asked. Not because I just said you suck at tracking and here's my process, but but yeah, that's mine. Nap.
So listen, I'm not going to reiterate really a lot of what y'all said because, yes, you both got the planner thing from me. I got it from another person, my dad. And I do consult my parents actually for quite a bit. You would think, we come up with the stuff on our own, but who better to ask than, the people that raised you because they've either lived or done something similar and probably have decent ideas. So I took the idea from my dad. But yeah, so I do the planner thing. I don't have Excel sheets or anything like that, but I do use QuickBooks. I do make notes on my planner, so I do have my planner with me. Like I even bring it to work, so if someone texts me or messages me, I can write it down, make a note. That way I know to contact them. I do direct people away from Messenger. I give them my email or my phone number. If it's someone here, I give them my phone number because it's easier for me to communicate and do drop-offs and those things. But email for those folks that are like out of state because, well, I can just get all the details in email, especially if they're looking for verbiage. They can send it straight to my email and I can copy that into a program and all that stuff. But one thing I do differently is I do invoice, but I don't always send invoice. I do the invoice so I know it's there. And when I come close to the time to get ready to start the job, I then send that invoice. Because I have this weird thing about people paying me money way before I'm even going to start it. I just do. It's just a me thing. But after my little debacle with the one organization and not paying me ahead of time, I tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to send you the invoice when I get ready to start. And then that's when you can pay for it. And that's actually been working out pretty good. And then in my planner, so I don't have to keep going to QuickBooks all the time. Josh?
Go ahead, finish what you're saying. I'll tag in after.
I actually put a P for paid in parentheses next to the jobs in my planner. So that way I know that they did pay for the job, because in QuickBooks, when it's paid, it organizes itself depending on how you have it set up. So that way I'm not looking like, did they pay for this job? Or no, I just know it's paid because I marked it in my planner. But that's how I keep track of my jobs. Josh, what'd you have there?
So I just want to tag on a little bit about people paying for the project. Personally, we've all dealt with this. We've talked about this. So I'm not going to drag this out, but I have no problem with someone paying when they ask for the job because of the way I've set things up. That way, right away, when they ask you about a project, they more likely have those funds ready to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a big thing, man. It's like Josh.
Yeah.
If you like wait like 3 weeks and you message them like, hey, I'm ready to start this job, I'm sending you an invoice, they'd be like, well, I gotta wait till payday now, and then that kind of f's you a little bit if they want the job done in a specific time frame. So I agree and I disagree, but I mostly agree with doing it that way because it also gives you the freedom to purchase the materials right away. This way, all that money, aside from anything catastrophic happening, like your shop burning down, knock on wood, or you getting sick or whatever, you have the freedom to start that job as soon as you're done. Like just flow right into it as soon as you're done with another one. So, but everybody does everything different, you know?
His NAP situation was a little different because he actually was doing it for I don't want to say a company, but like for the military, which he knew eventually he would get paid for too.
Well, so that's another thing though. With the military, always take payment up front with the military because they are notoriously known, especially if it's a private organization and not like if you're going to buy it from the actual a DoD entity, they're going to pay you up front anyway because they have to because the funds are allotted. But if you buy it, or if somebody commissions you from the top 3 or some airman organization or whatever, you want to make sure that they pay you right away because they're always like, well, I don't know who's supposed to pay you, or I don't know what, doesn't say anything about that. I don't know anything about that. They get to run around. So
I've almost got burned with the 2-foot mallets. I'm not gonna get too far into it, but I had someone reach out to me going, hey, I need 2 mallets made. And I'm like, great. Soon as we get the details, he sent me the details. Okay, I need the coin and I need to be paid. Never reached out to me again for the the payment or for the coin. And I did follow-up emails. I did 2. And after 2, I kind of leave you alone, because if you don't answer me after 2, you clearly don't want the project.
Right.
Okay, that's
So,
enough.
So what do you
Sorry.
think about follow-up emails, by the way? If somebody calls you for a job and they just don't get back with you, do you always follow up?
Depends on the state of the shop, honestly, state of the shop and where I'm at. Because if I'm over inundated with jobs and they asked me a while back, I'm sorry, unless you reach back out to me yourself, I'm not going to go put more work on my plate and stress myself out more when I've already got like 6 jobs on the docket, you know?
What about you, Josh?
About the same. Unless I go and we do a lot of conversation back and forth and we worked out all the details, I'm probably not going to do a follow-up unless we really both put the effort in to kind of like come up with a concept. But for the most part, you know, if they want the project, they're going to reach out eventually.
Exactly.
Yep.
So what about, and I think I mentioned this before a few episodes ago, but when somebody calls you for a quote, you give them the quote, and then it's radio silence.
That means, I don't like you, you're pricey.
I don't like the price. I'm going to go somewhere else and get it. Whatever. That's fine. I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, no harm, no foul. I get it. You don't like my price. It's fine. But that boned me. Excuse my language. That messed me up real bad with that trunk. And it forced me to build a trunk that would have otherwise taken me a few weeks into essentially 10 days. So just because they're like, oh, hey, where's that trunk? How's that trunk coming along? I'm like, I don't know. Like, you guys tell me. You guys want to, nobody ever got a hold of me. And they're like, well, we still need it for the retirement. I was like, well, I can do it, but now the price is Z, you know, not X.
Yeah.
So on that, getting into the next question here, and I do want to ask all these questions tonight because some of them could be quicker answers, but this one is especially interesting because it kind of relates to what we're talking about here. So this actually comes from old Matt Voeltner from Voeltner Woodworking. His question is, and because we fall into this category, boys, and as do many of our listeners, should a part-time maker be charging the same rate as a full-time maker?
Ooh,
obviously,
like
a part-time maker will usually have a longer lead time.
Longer?
Josh, what do you got to say about this, man?
Okay, so if you're doing full-time woodworking, you might have higher prices because that's your livelihood, right? You're paying the bills, the lights, everything relies on you doing those jobs. You might be, I mean, like there's no supplemental income where you can be like, well, I could charge you this, and I'll get to it when I want. That's your job. So you're going to wake up, you have a cup of coffee, watch the sunrise, you're going to cut some wood, you're going to do, right? For like the 3 of us, well, we can't necessarily charge that price because, who knows what we might get off work early. We might have to spend half the night there working. We might get TDY, which is a trip away from home. We might get deployed. You never really know what's going to happen. Family, like TDY. You might get sick. Yeah, I mean, like anything.
Temporarily divorced, y'all. No, I'm playing.
my point is like we do this part time. Yeah, it feels like full time sometimes, but what it comes down to is we try to make it happen, right? So I'm not going to go ahead and charge someone a full time woodworker is going to charge because I can't guarantee. I'll guarantee as much as I can that due date, but things happen, and I've had to push due dates because of it. I try not to do it if there's a ceremony or anything like that because, that's important. Ceremonies, retirement, promotion, that stuff, I'll bend over backwards trying to get that done. But if it's something that doesn't have the due date is arbitrary, I'm going to, I might have to push it back. And I've done that before, unfortunately, because life happens. So my prices reflect my capability. They reflect the time I can dedicate and the materials I use. And because I'm not full-time, I can't not charge the prices some people charge because it doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, because we have our military income. I mean, our bills are paid, regardless. We're essentially making money just to pay off our equipment in the grand scheme of things and with the hope of making a little cheddar on the side,
So, I mean, there's a difference. And anyone that doesn't see the difference, I'm sorry. There's a huge difference there. When we go full time, I know for a fact my price is going to have to go higher because that's my income now. So, Nick, what do you think?
Well, I think it depends. But I also think that you need to do an accurate assessment what you're charging for and the time it takes to make something. A time that when you're figuring out what you charge for labor per hour, if that's how you factor it into your formula. If you make something and you made a lot of that something and you have it down like the back of your hand, granted, it's gonna be expensive regardless, right? But I think that if you are a part-time maker, you can afford to charge a little less than the full-time makers because of all the factors that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Let's just use something that we've all made.
Business models, so
let's look at this though. Let's look at business model wise. I am gonna charge as much as I think the job is worth to me. I'm not. Granted, I love woodworking, but I'm not just making stuff for charity. You know what I mean?
Done that.
Right. Well, yeah, we've all done that before. Where, especially when we, have a third-party logistics company destroy your project, and you got to, build something for free afterwards. But regardless, I'm gonna charge what I think the job is worth. And if it's an item that you can get on the internet as well from other quality woodworkers, if they're charging a specific price range, I think it's within your best interest to at least take that into consideration. Like, look, Knapp makes widgets for $10, all right, and it takes him an hour to make the widget. If I charge $25 for that same widget and it takes me an hour to make that widget, are people going to come to me or are they going to go to Knapp? Is it still worth my time to do it though? I don't know, man. I really, in the long run, I'm going to do what I feel is best for me and my business. I'm going to do what I feel is worth my time. And if it's not worth my time, or if my price is well under other people's prices, I don't care. I'm not trying to undercut you, but at the same time, if you price yourself out of a market, that's your fault. So that's all I'm saying.
So on that, and I'll finish the question off because y'all have hit a lot of good points that I would have made. But the last thing I would put on this is price for your market. Because at the end of the day, people wherever you live have different incomes, different amounts of money that they're willing to spend. And it's that way everywhere. Where what we charge in Texas is different than what Josh might charge up in New Jersey.
Wood prices is completely different.
Material cost is different everywhere. So if a maker says that if you're charging this much, you're wrong. Well, I hate to say this to a maker that says that, you're wrong. Because at the end of the day, we price based off of where we're at and what our market is.
Well, you can think whatever you want to think, all right? But don't criticize other people for their prices just because they might have access to cheaper materials. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
I want to finish this question up with this last little bit. If you price out a project and it feels good when they say yes and you're happy with that price, don't let anyone tell you that you're wrong.
Unless you're making like pine flags and you're selling.
Okay. You're gonna go down the rabbit hole of pine, and we all know how much we hate pine, softwood. How dare you?
It's good.
No offense.
I don't hate pine. It has
Here
its
we
place.
go. You did it.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well,
it has its place, bro.
It does because there are some beautiful things made out of pine, and we've seen that from. And I'm going to say AJ from Crafted NJ. He makes some amazing stuff.
But he's not just making. He's not making something that we make out of hardwoods.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's making something unique.
And that's what I'm saying. Like you said, it has this place, and I'm going to say some beautiful stuff comes out of Crafted NJ. But all right, I got to move on, okay? I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, and I want to kind of get through some more of these questions because our listeners did submit them, so I want to get their questions out there. All right, so talk about the business stuff. Gears and Fire, old Tim from over there, he says, how reliable and consistent do you think your customer base needs to be to quit a day job to make it full-time?
That's a good question. Well, I think I'm probably the closest to going full-time.
Yep.
So here's where I'm at. All right. I'm not typical to everybody else though that's going out on their own. I have a wife who makes a good income. I'm gonna have a retirement, and I'm gonna potentially have some disability. I don't know yet. I can't speak to that because I don't know. But regardless, so I'm gonna have income coming in no matter what. But if I was to go live full time with my making or my woodworking, I would want to have a solid customer base before I did. And I think that begins when you're starting part-time.
Yes.
But because you can't just like sell stuff to nobody, right? If nobody's buying, you're not going to have, we all know this, economics, right? If nobody's buying, you're going to go out of business. So start your relationships early. Start doing little things for companies or businesses or whatever. Like I have clients that come back to me. And I also have clients that will only come to me. And that's great. And I want to keep scaling that up. But I also have to take care and remember that I'm still just part-time and I can't handle a full-time workload. So I have to remind them that as well. But once I do go full-time, I am fully confident that they're going to like utilize the crap out of me. So
I like how you go that shot crap.
So yes, you do need to have a reliable customer base beforehand. If you and if you don't advertise, so like say you have enough business and you don't advertise, you're fine, right? If you're part-time. But what you want to be doing is getting your name out there, getting your products out there, getting visibility within the community or within whatever market you're at. So when you do go full-time, people know you produce quality and people know that you're not going to screw them over, because that's ultimately what people are worried about nowadays, especially when we do all the business online. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and so Nick, you talk about these relationships, man. What's kind of cool, and in your particular situation is, yeah, you're going to retire here. I have to leave and go to the Great North. Wonderful. But this kind of goes to that community over competition thing. Like right now, currently, I'm transitioning out of making things for people here, because at the end of the day, I'm leaving and shipping's cool and everything. But like Nick said earlier, as far as the prices, like I make widgets for 10, he makes it for 25. Well, it's the same concept as I can either get it from this guy who's local, or I can get it from this guy that's going to ship. Who are they going to go with? So at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm leaving. I need to make continuity, and I want to transition you all over. Literally, you've been putting, and I'm not tooting my horn, Nick. I'm not saying you don't know how to network, but I'm literally sending people to Nick. I'm like, this guy's going to be your guy. Like, there's squadrons that are going to be reaching out to him when I leave. And then when he's full-time, he's not going to have a shortness of business. I'm going to guarantee you that. He's going to be just fine. But, yes, Tim, to answer your question in full, and I know Josh might have a little bit for this, yes, you do need to have a reliable customer base, I feel. But advertising, yes, is a huge thing when it comes to making it a reliable customer base. But, Josh, what do you got, man?
So you guys pretty much hit it on the head. If in our line of work, I would say be established. Know the community, know the people around you. The hardest thing for us is like where we're going to end up last. So Nick is on his last legs when it comes to the Air Force. He's going to be getting out, 2 years?
I'm on my last legs, yes. I will retire in approximately 2 years.
Anyway, sorry to call you out like that, dude. But if he's not going to stay in Texas or around the area he's currently working, he's going to need to get established in a new area, kind of feel out what's going on. Hopefully, that local business traffic will come in, and I'm sure it will. But
there's a way to do that too, by the way.
There is absolutely. Etsy, Facebook, we have tools to help us allow more traffic into our shops. Facebook especially, you can join local groups, you can introduce yourself, you can kind of get your name out there. That helps. Start doing random things when you move, like give a flag or something to the fire department or something. Donate some of your time and some of your craft to the local areas. Showcase your work. Sometimes giving away a project that you spent hours on will actually generate more money for you than anything. And I did it here. I was part of, I was doing a special duty and someone was going away. I did a quick
Yeah.
project. I brought it in, handed it over. Duty, handed it over. I said, here, thank you for your time here, blah, blah, blah. It generated thousands of dollars off that one project because people saw what I could do. It is worth putting your work out there, even if it costs you a little bit in the beginning, because it will actually make you money in the end. Relationships with people, your clients, the community will all pay off. That being said, would you want a customer base? Absolutely. Unless you're an Etsy warrior or you're making money on TikTok by going live randomly on a Sunday afternoon.
Y'all 31 cents of it.
Oh. Just a little bit of bragging. I just want to let you guys know I'm a star now. I went live on TikTok and made 31 cents. And I kept my clothes on. And yeah. Oh, maybe just a little bit. Anyway. Basically, get to the point of the question. Yes, you want to have some kind of flow of income. And with our work, with what we're doing, I don't want to say we're influencers. What I want to say is we're part of a community and we need multiple streams of revenue to make it worth our while. And woodworking alone, yeah, that you could definitely make a good living off of. But it's probably not going to just be woodworking. It's probably going to be a mixture of a bunch of different things. That's my 2 cents. Next question, sir.
So good. Okay, so this next question is pretty easy one. From Roy 176. Roy at Roy 176, the 176 Roy. Does your significant other support your woodworking ventures? I mean, that's not the exact words. I don't have it up, but that's essentially the question. Does your significant other support you?
When I make stuff for her.
Thank you for being honest.
Otherwise, she tolerates it. It's all nice when we can go out to dinner and afford to do nice things, But it's kind of crappy when you don't. You're spending hours in the garage building stuff, and it's not for your house. Man, could you imagine? On a side note here, I know we're going down a rabbit hole, but could you imagine if you had made everything that you've made up to this point and you had it displayed in your house?
Oh no!
Oh my goodness, man.
Why would you put that out? My wife listens to this podcast, man. Why would you put that out there?
No. So it's an unfortunate part of the business, but you build stuff for other people, and then you gotta kind of like make stuff for the family too, right? But also if you're running a business, you can't just use materials, whatever materials you have to like make sure that it's surplus, I guess you could say, something that's not going to hamstring you later on. And that's where, I buy materials for myself, very, very little now, and I buy materials for projects.
Josh, does Heather support you?
Absolutely. I mean, there's moments obviously where she peeks her head out there, looks at me and gives me the look of like, you going to come in anytime soon? But I think that's just because, well, we do spend a lot of time in the garage. And, personally, I do feel guilty about being out there sometimes because I want to spend time with the kids and the wife. But you know what? I took jobs and they have due dates and I need to get that stuff done. But I do try to find moments like today. I brought my kid out there and we actually stained a little piece that make it for the house. It was for another project that the client backed out of, but I've already made the round. So it wasn't a big deal. It was for a friend, but they were moving and they decided they didn't want it any longer. So it was a round piece. We stained the round piece. I'm going to do a carve for the Plowski family on it and established date. And we're going to hang it in the house somewhere. Nothing too crazy, just a little piece of pine. But my point here is I try to incorporate my family into the woodworking to help, unfortunately, my little guilt. And like to also show them that, they could do it. They can help. And maybe they'll learn something along the way. And my wife is doing a lot with a Cricut. She's doing a lot with a Glowforge. My son goes in the garage, Daddy, how can I help? And that right there, I'm going to find something for him to do. Like that, I didn't need to do that as a little stain job today, but I wanted to find something that he's never done and teach him something. So that's what I do. My family does support me they listen to the podcast to give me criticism when I need it and kick me in the butt when I need it. So, but yeah, I am very grateful for my family and the backing I get. So, Nap.
Honestly, man, short, skinny of it is, yeah. When I first bought a CNC, my wife thought I was crazy. But regardless of any craziness or how far fetched the ideas began, she backed me from the get go. I assured her that I would make this work because she knows that I'm not somebody that when they start something like this or any kind of big undertaking, I'm not just going to be like, I don't want to do it now. She knew that I was serious when I said, hey, I'm going to buy the CNC and get started. And then as I buy tools, it's funny because when Nick was first being the bad thing for my wallet, she's like, what did you buy? Like, and I have to keep reminding her, like, babe, it's not like personal funds, it's actually business money type deal. But at this time, she's like, all right, so what'd you buy this time? Like, it's come to that now. And, but she supports everything I do because she knows at the end of the day, this is what I want to do when I get out of the military. She knows that it's going to take time. It's going to take money. But as you said, that time is also needs to be limited at times because I need to spend time with my family. That is like her one like condition that I do take time to spend with the family. Like if you're going to be out there for hours while I'm at work on the weekends, you need to at least be in here for a good part of the day to, spend time with us and whatnot. Now, mind you, I put my kid to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. So most of my hours are spent from 8 o'clock in the evening till whenever I decide to go to bed. But yes, short and skinny of it is yes, she supports me in every way that she can. Hopefully, maybe one of these days I can get her out in the shop. She's afraid of the shop, so.
I got a quick story to tell you guys. I know we're kind of over our time here, but I came in and I bought a new power bank for the CNC out there. So, power goes off, it was slowly shut down. I can get out there. Anyway, I brought it in and she goes, what's that for? I'm like, oh, it's for the laser. She goes, what laser? Oh, the OMTech Laser. And she just gives me this look of like, what did you do?
What?
Yes. And I'm like, yeah, the OMTech Laser. And she goes, did you buy a laser? I'm like, yeah, eventually.
It's funny. The death look is real. And I know we're over time, but listen.
Yeah, let's get to the last question.
Good stuff, boys. Last question is from Brady over at B. James Design, one of our Patreons. What's your favorite woodworking instructional YouTube channel? Now, mind you, we look at a lot of stuff for when we don't know how to make something on YouTube University. Now, me personally, I'm just going to get my answer out of the way. I honestly don't have one because I just find I Google and I find like a million different videos. I watch it and then I don't really subscribe or do anything like that crazy. So maybe I need to find some actual stuff.
Maybe you do. That's wrong. You need to at least smash that like button and hit subscribe.
I do smash the like button and sometimes the dislike button when it doesn't seem like it makes sense. But yeah, Nick, man, do you got any favorite instructional?
Yeah, there's a few. So Jonathan Katz Moses makes excellent videos for instruction videos. William Douglas Co. makes some really good videos for instructions. It may not be a dedicated instruction video, but I get a lot of nice, cool advice and techniques from him. And Blacktail Studios, I think it is. Let me see here. That dude makes some really beautiful. Blacktail Studio. The guy makes some really beautiful furniture, and watching him, you could pick a few things up as well. But another couple of things. Anytime I have bandsaw problems, I look up Alex Snodgrass. He usually puts on a bandsaw clinic, but he does it on YouTube as well. And then OMTech always has nice videos as well if you're having trouble with your lasers. Otherwise, this is a shameless plug, but if you're having trouble with your laser and you just can't figure it out via the internet or whatnot, you could contact OMTech and they will answer you right away, or they will call you back as soon as possible. Or you could always DM us at the Sawdust Nation podcast, and we can help you out. Especially if you own an OMTech laser, we can at least point you in the right direction. If we don't know, we'll get you someone who does know, and that's not just because we're an affiliate, but that's because we care, and it's all about the community over the competition here. So, Josh, what do you say?
In the beginning, I watched a lot of YouTube. In fact, that's what gave me the confidence to step in the workshop and actually complete projects and build what I have today. Unfortunately, though, I haven't been watching YouTube really since because I've been diving. All my time is spent in the woodshop work or with family. And I do a lot of what Nat does. And if I need to look something up, I just kind of, search it. But I've gone past YouTube in such a way that I reach out to other makers. The one thing I love about this community is you can reach out to somebody and you can have a one-on-one conversation with somebody about how to do something, and then have that same conversation with someone else and learn something completely different. So YouTube's a great resource if, it's late at night, you don't really bug anyone. But I like reaching out to people and having that conversation, because you never know what else you might learn during that conversation. So I know it doesn't really answer that question, but it's kind of where I lean nowadays.
Well, hey, listen, a lot of good questions. And I'm going to tell you what, folks, for those that are going to be listening to this, you notice, yeah, we're over time, but we didn't struggle for time either, because you all gave us great questions. So keep giving us those questions so we can have this great content. Because even if you don't give us feedback, you give us questions, we know what you want us to talk about. So keep that stuff coming. But on that, let's wrap this thing up.
All right. Huge thank you to PWN CNC and Daniel over there. You're an excellent dude. We love you. Thanks for the support.
Love you a long time.
Love you a long time, Daniel, over there at PWN CNC. Anyway, if you want 5% off your order at pwncnc.com, use promo code SawdustNation981. And thanks again, Totalboat. You guys are awesome. If anybody else wants to order anything from Totalboat, we have a 10% off promo code we can give you, but you have to contact us to get it because it's on that hush-hush. So other than that, patrons, once again, thanks so much. You guys are awesome. We love you. We can't do what we do without you. And Nap.
All right, hey, so check it out. So a lot of you listen to us on the Apple Podcast, but there's a lot of other podcast catchers out there. So if you happen to listen to any of the podcasts, including the Apple Podcast, make sure you give us 5 stars. If you don't give us 5 stars, tell us why. Or you can just send us questions to help us get to that 5-star rating, because that's what helps us create that content that you deserve. Josh, how do we get hold of us?
Well, if you're on Instagram, you can reach us at the Sawdust Nation podcast page, where you can reach any of us, which we like to hear from you. If you want to reach one of us, you can go ahead and reach Nap from Nap Tiny Works LLC. He'll answer the questions when he can. And Nick from MPG Creations, he'll try to answer. Watch out for the stash. It might get you, though. And then myself, Josh from North Country Woodworking. Love to answer your questions, and we'll talk techniques and whatever kind of woodworking you want. We also have our email at sawdustnationpodcast@gmail.com, where you can go ahead and send us, topic ideas, questions, voicemails for the podcast, or, whatever. You want to talk about the latest project, or, have some help. That's a good way to reach out. With all those ways, we hope to hear from you guys about the podcast, good or bad, because you know what? We need the honest feedback. Honest feedback helps us create better content for you. And with that, we're going to go with final words and Nap.
Yeah, so hey, check it out. We've mentioned it a couple times during this podcast, but that community over competition, we fully embody that here. There is no hiding of anything. If you really want to know what we're doing or how we do something, we're going to tell you, because at the end of the day, it's how we make this community better. Because if we pass the information on that we got from someone else, then you're eventually going to pass it on to someone else, because you're going to become that expert. And that's just how we grow this community. That's how everybody gets better. And on that as well, if you got questions for us, please ask them. Or if you just got questions for this podcast, keep asking them, because someone will listen to this podcast and learn something. I guarantee you that, because I've been reached a few times and said, man, y'all had a great episode, learned a couple things. And that's just what we're here for the small garage owner or shop owner, or even large shop owner for that matter. You never know who's listening. But keep taking care of each other, folks, because that's what this community is about. Nick, final words, bud.
Yeah, take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time, we can't wait to see you back here. And, go make some sawdust. Josh?
Wait for the joke. No joke?
No joke today. The only joke that I had received this week, or at least saw this week, was UPS telling me that they wouldn't pay for the... at that point, it was a terrible joke, so we're not going to repeat it. Anyway, Josh.
Okay, well, moving on. Thank you guys for listening in to the 89th episode. We appreciate you taking the time to tune us in on your way to work, making coffee, in the shop, in the workplace, wherever you listen to the Sawdust Nation podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you share it with your friends, your coworkers, anyone that might jump in the shop just a woodworking or just a maker in general. So we appreciate you tuning in. You have a great week. Go in the shop, make some sawdust, and with that, Sawdust Nation
out. What's 6 inches long, 2 inches wide, and drives women wild?
A tuna can.
Money.
That's good. That's really good, Nick. That was clever.